going on, everyone? Chris from Pickdawgz.com here with the Wraparound, where we're going to be breaking down the NHL action going down on Tuesday, October 24th, 2023. Before we get into it, though, if you like this content, make sure you drop a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily $19 best bet and my NHL power play, make sure you head to Pickdawgz.com and click the Premium Picks tab at the top of the page. Are you ready? I'm ready. Let's get into it. Our first game on Tuesday takes us to the Capital One Arena, where the Washington Capitals take on the Toronto Maple Leafs. And the Capitals, they still haven't been able to get a very good feel for this team. They beat the Calgary Flames about a week ago. That's all well and good. But other than that, this Washington Capitals team is really disappointed. They've scored 6 goals in 4 games this season. And I'm not really sold on them, even at home at plus money here. The Toronto Maple Leafs, they've been inconsistent as well, and maybe that's disappointing considering it's supposed to be one of the better teams in the NHL. But they got that big win on the road over the Tampa Bay Lightning last time out. Came from behind, forced overtime, and got the win in the extra frame. I think they carry that momentum over here. They've had a lot of recent success against the Caps, winning 5 of the last 6 meetings head-to-head since the start of the 2022 season. So I'm going to go with the Toronto Maple Leafs at minus 160 in this one. Up next, we head to the Nationwide Arena, where the Columbus Blue Jackets take on the Anaheim Ducks. And to be honest, this is probably one of the least exciting games on Tuesday's card. But, I still look at the Columbus Blue Jackets here. I think I've seen a team so far that's, I want to say, defied expectations, but they played a lot better than I thought they would out of the gate. They've won 3 of their last 4 games, and they've beaten some decent competition, especially at home. They beat the Calgary Flames, beat the New York Rangers, got an overtime win over the Minnesota Wild on the road last time out on the second half of a back-to-back. Meanwhile, the Ducks continue to struggle. They've lost 4 of their first 5 games to start the year. Scoring continues to be an issue. They've scored 2 goals or less in their 4 losses. Had that one game against the Carolina Hurricanes where they scored 6, but hate to break it to Anaheim. A lot of teams are scoring on the Carolina Hurricanes. They've been a lot more shaky defensively early on. The Canes have been, and I thought they were going to be this year. I think the Columbus Blue Jackets continue their strong start. Like I said, we're getting a decent price to fade the Anaheim Ducks. So give me the Columbus Blue Jackets on the money line in this one. Up next, we go to the Amalie Arena, where the Tampa Bay Lightning take on the Carolina Hurricanes. And the Carolina Hurricanes, I'll tell you, this Hurricanes team, I had much higher hopes for them defensively coming into this season. So far, 3-3 on the year. But you look at their last few games. They gave up 5 to the Kings, 6 to the Ducks, 3 to the Sharks in a game where they had to come from behind with 4 third-period goals in a span of 6 minutes. And then a combined 13 goals to the Kraken and the Avalanche. So this Hurricane team leaves a lot to be desired. On the other side, you've got the Tampa Bay Lightning, who just folded against the Toronto Maple Leafs. They had a 3-1 lead late in the third period and ended up having to go to overtime, and the Leafs stole that game. But we all know really what the Tampa Bay Lightning are. They are still a solid offensive lineup, top to bottom, from the forwards to the defensemen. I'm just still not sold on their goaltending either, though. I see the Hurricanes. I see all of their games this season have seen at least 8 goals. I have no idea how you don't go with the over 6.5 here. Like I said, questionable goaltending, 2 solid offensive units. I'm surprised this line didn't open at 7. Give me the over 6.5. Next, we head to the Bell Center, where the Montreal Canadiens take on the New Jersey Devils. And the Canadiens in the unenviable position of being one of only 2 teams on Tuesday on the second half of a back-to-back. But give the Canadiens some credit, and this is coming from a Leafs fan. They battled a lot of teams hard this season. Entering Monday's action, they're 2-2 on the year, 2-1-1 specifically. They started the year with that close shootout loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs in a game. The Montreal Canadiens were heavy underdogs in. They beat the Chicago Blackhawks. They beat the Washington Capitals. Took one on the chin against the Wild, but I think I said it yesterday. The Wild are going to beat a lot of teams this season, so there's no shame in that. The New Jersey Devils were one of the NHL's best last year, but they've been in a lot of close games so far to start the year. 4 one-goal games in their first 4 games overall this season. A pair of overtime games there as well. Don't get me wrong, the New Jersey Devils have had a lot of recent success against Montreal, winning 7 of the last 10 meetings, but I still think that the Canadiens are going to be scrappy. The Devils haven't been really able to pull away from a lot of teams this season. So I'm going to go with the Canadiens plus the 1.5. I might sprinkle a little bit on the money line at plus 180. Next, we head to the Canadian Tire Center where the Ottawa Senators take on the Buffalo Sabres. And the Sabres in the unenviable position of being one of only two teams on Tuesday. They're on the second half of back-to-back, playing Montreal on Monday. And the Buffalo Sabres, still not a team I'm all that enthused about. They have a lot of young talent on the roster, a lot of bright, stars that are going to be big names in the NHL in the future, in the next few years. But still, they've got off to, not the slowest of starts, but not a great start either. They've scored 3 goals or less in all 5 of their games entering Monday's matchup against Montreal, and they're only 2-3 on the year. And that's not going to cut it here against an Ottawa Senators team that plays their best hockey at home. This is a young Senators team as well, but they had a lot of success on their home ice last year. And yeah, sure, they took one on the chin against the Detroit Red Wings last time out, but Ottawa is still scoring a ton of goals at home. And I just think that, the Sabres, I'm not all that sold on their goaltending. And I like what I've seen from the Senators up to this point. So give me the Sens here at minus 156. Next, we head to the PPG Paints Arena where the Pittsburgh Penguins take on the Dallas Stars. And, the Pittsburgh Penguins, a team that I'm probably going to continue to fade for much of the year, not sold on their goaltending. And I think this is just a Penguins team that's going to really start to show their age as the season progresses. Their stars are not getting any younger. Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin. And, I don't have high hopes for the Penguins over the course of the season. And I don't know if I'm going to have much high hopes for them here. I think they will struggle to score in this game. The Dallas Stars got a bright, future in goal with Jake Ottinger. He's my sleeper pick to win the Vezina this year. But the Stars, have done a good job sort of implementing their style for the most part, which is that physical, gritty, get under your skin, low-scoring physical style of hockey. I don't know if the Penguins are going to be able to compete with that. So I'm going to go with the under 6.5 here because when I look at this game, I just keep seeing 3-2 Stars, maybe 4-2. But I also like this game to go to overtime. Head-to-head between these two teams, we saw the last time we saw overtime was back in 2021, but the last 4 meetings have all been 1-goal games. I think this game could be tight enough that it needs extra time. So give me the under 6.5, the Stars money line, and for this game to go to overtime, 60-minute 3-way tie at plus 330. Next, we head to the FLA Live Arena where the Florida Panthers take on the San Jose Sharks. And I'll level with you off the hop. This is my least favorite game on the card on Tuesday, mainly because I feel that there's nowhere to go in here. The Florida Panthers, they probably win this game, but you have to take them on the puck line. And the head-to-head, the last few meetings, for as bad as the Sharks have been, they've been able to keep a lot of the recent meetings close. 3 of the last 4 meetings have needed overtime. But I also don't trust the Sharks in the underdog role, as this is going to be one of the worst teams in hockey this year. So rather than mess around with anything, I'm just going to take the under 6.5 here. I don't trust the Sharks to do a whole lot of scoring. And while the Florida Panthers have been able to put out some decent performances here and there, the reality is that they're still not scoring as frequently as they were at times last year. Normally, this was a team that you could rely on for 5-6 goals a game. I think this is sort of a 4-1, maybe a 3-1 kind of game. Like I said, my least favorite game on the board, but I'll roll with the under 6.5 in the Florida Panthers and San Jose Sharks. Next, we head to the UBS Arena where the New York Islanders take on the Colorado Avalanche. And, something you guys are going to learn with me with the wraparound, the more you watch this season, you're going to learn that I'm like anybody. I can hold a grudge. And, I'm going to be doing that here with the New York Islanders. They did so well to come back against the New Jersey Devils, lost that game 5-4 in overtime by just standing around and letting Jack Hughes dance around in their defensive end. And then they come out the next game on the second half of back-to-back and lose to the Buffalo Sabres 3-1. And the problem with the New York Islanders here, and it's been like this going back to last season, is that sometimes they rely on playing defensive style hockey. And the problem for Ilya Sorokin is that his team sometimes relies on him to win a lot of games for him. And you can't win a ton of games scoring 2-3 goals a night in today's NHL, especially when you got the Colorado Avalanche on the other side. The Colorado Avalanche, for the better part of the season, are doing everything well. They're playing solid defense. They're great offensively. And I just see them being too much in this matchup. Both these teams can play some solid defense, but the Avalanche are a lot more trustworthy on the offensive end. Give me the Avalanche here at minus 150. Next, we had the Little Caesars Arena where the Detroit Red Wings take on the Seattle Kraken. And, the Detroit Red Wings, what a start they've gotten off to this season. I mean, 5-1 on the year, 3-0 at home, 6-0 on the puck line. and it's just been an outstanding start for Detroit. The same can't be said for the Seattle Kraken, who did get a win over the Carolina Hurricanes at home, but outside of that, it's been disastrous for the Seattle Kraken, who had scored one goal or less in the other 5 games that they had played so far this season. And I think this line is just indicative of the fact that there's still a losing stigma that's associated with the Detroit Red Wings, that this team can't be 5-1 to start the year. But the reality is they are. And I think that there's certain approaches that you have to take with certain teams. And the Detroit Red Wings, for me, are one of those teams where I'm just going to strike while the iron is hot, ride this team until they start to cool off a little bit, until, everybody starts to play the back of their cards a little bit. So I'm going to take the Detroit Red Wings here. We're getting a great price with them, and to keep riding them to continue the hot start at home here. Next, we head to the United Center, where the Chicago Blackhawks take on the Boston Bruins in a rematch from just under a couple weeks ago, back on October 11th at the TD Garden. Boston's season opener finished 3-1 in favor of the Bruins. Now, that game has actually been fairly similar to what we've seen from the Bruins a lot this season. The Bruins have been doing a good job at stifling opponents defensively, but we've yet to really see them dominate. And we've seen a couple of solid performances. They are 4-1 on the puck line so far this season, 5-0 straight up. Um, but a lot of those games have been 3-1, 4-2. So, I think that's kind of what we're in line for here again as well. The Chicago Blackhawks have been doing a decent job competing. They only lost by a final count of 5-3 against a really good Vegas Golden Knights team. But outside of that, they got shut out by Colorado, lost 3-2 to Montreal, 3-1 to Boston. So I think a similar scoreline's in store here. I look for Boston to win this one 3-1, maybe 4-2. So I'm going to take the Bruins to cover on the puck line. I'm also going to take the under 6.5 here, as I think this actually could be a nice same game parlay. Next, we head to the Canada Life Center, where the Winnipeg Jets host the St. Louis Blues. And St. Louis Blues head back out on the road for the first time since opening night, which was a 2-1 shootout loss to the Dallas Stars. Meanwhile, the Winnipeg Jets have been inconsistent. They're 2-3 so far this year. The problem that I've had with the Winnipeg Jets is that they've been giving up goals left and right. They did hold down the Edmonton Oilers in their last game in a 3-2 overtime win. But outside of that, they had given up 5 to Vegas, LA, and Calgary, gave up 4 in a win to Florida. And as much as the St. Louis Blues have had their problems at times this season, they finally snapped out of it offensively. They put 4 goals past Pittsburgh, and the goaltending has been solid. When you see Jordan Binnington in net, he's given up a combined 4 goals so far this season. I think this is just going to be a low-scoring game, but I also think it's one that the Blues hold some value in. I have this line closer to a coin flip, maybe minus 130 for the Jets. So getting plus 136 or higher with the Blues, yeah, I'll take it. Give me the St. Louis Blues in the money line in this one. Now we go to the XL Energy Center, where the Minnesota Wild take on the Edmonton Oilers, and two teams that have had some, I would say, some stark comparisons to how they've started their seasons. A 1-3-1 record, not where the Edmonton Oilers wanted to be, with two of the best players in the world on the roster. But I'm starting to wonder if maybe we're seeing the problem that we've seen in the past with the Oilers, is that they're very top heavy talent wise, and outside of you know uh, McDavid, Draisaitl, maybe Nugent Hopkins, and a couple other players, there's not a whole lot of depth there, and they rely on those guys a little bit too much. We'll have to see if they can snap out of it here, though, against the Minnesota Wild team that's been prone to giving up some goals. That's not what we're used to seeing from the Minnesota Wild. We're used to seeing defensive, uh, more physical style of hockey, especially some solid goaltending. That hasn't been what we've seen. They've given up a combined 17 goals in their 3 losses this season. I think we got a high scoring game here, but I trust the goaltending for the Wild a lot more than I trust Edmonton's this season. So I'm going to take the Wild at home at a coin flip price. It's where they played their better hockey, as well as the over 6.5 here. Next, we head to the Bridgestone Arena, where the Nashville Predators take on the Vancouver Canucks. And looks to be a pretty even matchup on paper. I mean, the Nashville Predators 3-3 to start the year, back-to-back dominant wins over the Rangers and the Sharks. Meanwhile, the Canucks coming off a solid 5-3 road win over the Florida Panthers. But the thing for me in this game is that I genuinely think this is a coin flip that could go either way. I haven't been in love with the goaltending on either side for a lot of the season. Now, I will give Nashville credit. They've given up 2 goals or less in 4 of their 5 games, 4 of their last 5 games. But this has been a head-to-head series that's been dominated by the underdog. The underdog has won 7 of the last 9 meetings between these two teams. And I'm just not really able to separate a whole lot between the two teams offensively. Vancouver's had some solid offensive performances. They played some tough customers. They played the Oilers twice. They played the Lightning and the Panthers. And I think they could have some value here on the road. This is one game that I'm probably not going to be rushing to bet on on Tuesday's card, but I think I'll take a shot with the value here with the Canucks at even money. Up next, we head to the Scotiabank Saddledome where the Calgary Flames take on the New York Rangers. And the Calgary Flames, I see the comments. I can see people say, "Oh well, Chris Batch is up to his old tricks, fading the Calgary Flames." But tell me when I'm telling lies. I mean, this Calgary Flames team has lost 4 of their last 5 games. Goal scoring has been an issue for Calgary. 2 goals or less in those 4 losses. So I'm still not trusting the Calgary Flames as far as I can throw them. On the other side, the New York Rangers have been wildly inconsistent to start the year. Alternating wins and losses in each of their 5 games. The games they're winning, they're solid defensively. If the Rangers are holding, Buffalo, Arizona, and Seattle to 1 goal, they're getting the win. But when they give up more than one, they gave up 4 to the Preds, 5 to the Blue Jackets. They took the loss. So I think that's a recipe right now for the Rangers with the Flames in their current form. For the Rangers to hold the Flames in check, get a win. But I think it's going to be a tight game. A lot of the recent meetings between these two teams have been tight. Um, the last 2 meetings last year both went to overtime. So I'm going to take a shot here with the Rangers on the money line, but I'm also going to take a stab at this 3-way 60-minute tie, basically for the game to go to overtime at plus 330. Next, we head to the Crypto.com arena where the Los Angeles Kings take on the Arizona Coyotes. And, the Los Angeles Kings, I'm not going to say what I've been saying all along. If you've been following the wraparound, you know what it is. But I still have just not been able to get there with the Los Angeles Kings. Sure, they were able to win games against the Wild and the Jets and look good offensively doing it, but they've still been giving up goals left and right, especially at home. This team is 0-3 at home, 0-2-1 at home so far this season. They gave up 4 goals to the Bruins, 6 to Carolina, 5 to Colorado. I get it. Those are 3 of the best teams in the NHL. I'm not disputing that. I'm not lumping the Coyotes in there with them. But what I am saying is that the Coyotes, they've done a good job at being pesky to the teams they played on the road this season. They had a pair of 1-goal games against some tough opposition in the East in the Rangers and Islanders. They beat the St. Louis Blues on the road. They didn't necessarily look all that convincing at home against the Anaheim Ducks, only winning that game 2-1. But I think this Coyotes team is going to take a step forward this season. Does that mean making the playoffs? I'm not sure, but I think they're going to battle in this game. A lot of the meetings between these two teams recently have been close. 3 of the last 4, and 4 of the last 6 have been decided by 1 goal. So I'm going to take the Arizona Coyotes plus a goal and a half. I'm also going to take them on the money line here as well. And our final game for Tuesday's massive 16-game card takes us to the T-Mobile Arena, where the Vegas Golden Knights take on the Philadelphia Flyers. And the Philadelphia Flyers got off to a nice start to the year, 3-1-1. They did fall short on the road against the Dallas Stars in their last game, 5-4. But I'll give them credit where it's due. They have been battling. The problem that I have, though, is that I think they're up against it here against the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas Golden Knights team 6-0 straight up to start the year, 5-1 on the puck line, and they've been doing a good job winning games and winning games comfortably. The thing is, will the Flyers hold some value down the stretch? I think they will. I just don't know if it's here. The Vegas Golden Knights, like I said, they are. I think I said this about the Boston Bruins and a couple other teams. I think Detroit as well. I'm just going to keep striking while the iron is hot with some of these teams. They will sort of regress to the mean and come back down to earth a little bit after a hot start to the year. But right now, I'm just going to keep rolling with the Vegas Golden Knights. They are just picking up right where they left off last season. Absolutely steamrolling teams. And I think the Philadelphia Flyers are next on that list. I'm going to take the Vegas Golden Knights on the puck line to round things out. That's it. That's all the NHL action for Tuesday, October 24th, 2023. If you like this video, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to our channel. Also, make sure you have notifications turned on to get the newest and most up-to-date content here at Pick Dawgz. And a reminder, if you're looking for my best bets, check out Pick Dawgz Premium and let me know your NHL picks in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Good